Today I am making this very simple boom that I can use for dust collection on my sander. I can actually put my compressor hose in there as well and use it for my nail gun. It's great for the assembly table, and it was very simple, efficient, and easy to build. So stay tuned and I'll tell you some of the other things I can do with this. Hey guys, I built this bench 4 years ago and I love this thing. I use it every day in the shop, and I evolved the whole underneath side last year in a video and really like what I've been able to do to fit my needs. I put my air compressor down here and my dust extractor, and I really like that because I use them primarily right here. But then I end up with all these hoses and I got no place to put these hoses, so I have got to fix that. I'm going to end up changing this glue rack. I'm going to change how these hoses work and make it a lot more convenient to use them with this bench. So let's get started. Okay, here's the plan. Let's hope it works out that way. But I'm going to cut a piece of this, put it up on the wall right here, and I'm going to have a boom. What a surprise. It'll be a small one, but a boom that comes out. The only problem is it can only be about 2 feet long, and I want it to go. Well, with just about any project, sometimes you have to pivot, and this is that case. I've only got about 2 feet of space here where I could swing something out. And then I thought about another swinging arm and didn't like that idea. So I can go the other way and get a 4-foot boom, which I really like, and I think I'm going to do that. And I can get it above the doorway but under the garage door, which is critical, so that I can swing this boom out and use it and have it high enough that I can work on projects with or without the garage door open. So that's the pivot. I don't think that's a big deal, but I got all this real estate. I might as well use it.
Now I decided to start this project by making the boom arm itself. And as with everything in this particular project, it was all made out of scrap wood that I had lying around the shop. This happens to be a 1/2-inch plywood, and you know, it's very narrow. It had to be narrow because I wanted it above the doorway but underneath the garage door rail. So I decided that to add some strength, I would add a aluminum U-channel to this, and that should give me the strength that I need so that you know, I won't damage it when I move it around. The rest of the boom itself is glued together. I didn't use any screws in this part, and I didn't think it was necessary. Again, it's a very small design because of the amount of space available it has to fit within. Now, once I got that completely put together, I was ready to move on to the bearings. And these aren't your typical bearings. This is just a big, thick piece of wood. Drilled some holes in it, be able to make 2 bearings that go on the arm and 2 bearings that encapsulate the arm. And after I got the holes drilled and cut in the blocks, I decided I wanted to round them off a little bit just to make them a little bit nicer. So I did that rough cutting on my bandsaw, and from there I moved on to the belt sander to be able to sand those off. Unfortunately, I didn't have the best angle for the camera, so you can't exactly see me doing that, but I'm sure you've seen a lot of that before. And then gluing on the bearings for the boom itself was pretty straightforward. I did put 1/2-inch Baltic birch on 2 sides of it. Again, I just wanted to make sure I could add some additional strength and a lot of clamps. Now, once I got that out of the clamps, I decided that maybe it might be a little bit better if I just added some screws there. And so I did break down and put some screws in place. Now, for the bearing, or for the shaft itself, I didn't have any doweling available, and I didn't really want to go buy a 4-foot piece for a 6-inch section. So I ended up making my own on my Woodchuck. It's probably never seen one of these tools before, but it actually can make dowels out of cutting straight lines, which if you do the math, it's pretty straightforward to understand that. This worked great. It took a block of walnut and turned it into a nice dowel that I could use. And I got a little bit narrower than I wanted, but it worked out great for me. Now, I cut off the ends of the shaft and slid it into my boom and put my bearings on there. And I needed to trim it off a little bit because it was a little bit loose, but it wasn't too bad at all. Once I got that all fitted the way I wanted, I just cut a scrap piece of wood and cleaned it up a little bit, threw some paint on it, and I was ready to start assembling this thing. Now, I did put screws in from the back to hold the bearings. I figured that would be the best way to do this to make sure that it's going to be solid. There are other ways, but I kind of like that clean look. And then I clamped it to the wall and put some blocks underneath the door opening so I could actually kind of model the whole thing before I actually screw it to the wall. Because this is a concrete wall. I've got to drill some basically permanent holes. And look at that. It just barely clears there. So that worked out really good. Then I got the hose in and, well, I started to see a little bit of rubbing, and I didn't like that. I think I need to cut a little bit off of this end so I can get some more room down there, and I think I have the room. The hose will end up hanging right here. I don't want it in the doorway. And the alternative is I can just slide the whole thing over, but all that does is slide it over. I want more room. I could actually slide it more this way by maybe an inch or so and cut that off. All right, got some thinking to do. Okay, so today's a new day. Yesterday I wanted to put a bigger screw in here because I didn't like the depth of engagement of the previous screw. You probably can't see that, but that's the screw that I used, pretty tiny. I got a much bigger one. And of course, when you get a new screw, you have to have a different drill bit. Didn't have the right drill bit. Got to have the right head on the driver to drive it. Didn't have that, so became quite a mess. So now today I'm going to try to see if I can get this thing going and try to finish this project up. Now I used an impact drill to drill into the concrete wall for these holes. And I bought this thing on Harbor Freight for almost nothing. But you know, for those tools that you don't use that often, but you want them to work, Harbor Freight has some great tools. And I don't use this thing very often, but when I need it, I need it. And it has worked well for me. And yeah, I only put 3 screws in. I think I mounted it too high. I don't know, because here's where I got to a point where it hit. I can't believe it. After all that testing, it ended up hitting the rail a little bit. Well, sometimes waiting a day will take care of it, but I got it up. I just don't like the fact that it rubs. And at this point, I'm not sure I want to do anything about that because it's very functional. So let me get this hose in here. There we go. Now I'm going to tie this hose to the post right here. In fact, I want a little more room this way to do that. I'm going to use this 2-inch pipe.
and it'll fit in there, and that'll hold it against the wall. And I'm going to do the same thing with this 1-inch pipe, except I'm just going to put it up here, and that'll hold the compressor hose that I will use from time to time with the boom. But I think it frames the doorway good, so it's out of the way, which is what I want. Then I want to be able to slide this over onto the bench and use it for dusting. Now, if I measure the outside diameter of the hose, I'm at 1.6. So I probably want to be able to cut a slot in here that equals not 1.6, maybe 1.5, so that I can just push it in and have enough flexibility of the hose to bend to allow to do that.
Now, in order to actually cut a slot in the pipe with a jigsaw, I decided to mount the pipe to a block and bolt that to the table. And that gave me the opportunity to cut the dimension I wanted.
That is perfect. That's just what I wanted.
Now with the compressor hoses, I did basically the same thing with 1-inch pipe and routed it behind my bench and have a place to put it on the bench or on the wall.
Now, I've got this boom set up, so I'm just under the rail and just over the doorway. I can hook this up to my sander and do my sanding out here, and I've got enough workspace to be able to do that. I can also take this out of the boom easily, which is one of the requirements I have, and out of these little slots right here on the side, hook in my hose, and I can go anywhere in my shop and vacuum up my tools, which is really nice. And when I'm done, if I want, I can just put the hose right there. I can also get my compressor hose out, and I can run this through here. Very simply hook it up there, hook it up here, run it out, plug it into my nail gun, and use that as well. Very happy with the versatility of this design and the fact that I can help to keep the hoses out of the way and easily accessible. This is Dave with Level Up Woodworking, and I'll see you next time.